my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Carylanne Stonehill. I was telling Larry before the service began today that Carylanne's one of these few folks that she never seems to grow old, like the rest of us. And I've known you for years, and you look as young as you did the first time I met you. Carylanne is a healer and a teacher, spiritual teacher. And I'd like to read to you a little bit about her bio. Carylanne is a seasoned spiritual intuitive guide and mentor, certified life coach, master energy practitioner, and meditation guide with 28 years experience. Her training in holistic health and healing began here in Virginia Beach at the Casey Riley School, and she has studied and trained in numerous modalities over the last 2 decades. She is a well-known spiritual guide at the ARE in Virginia Beach. Her spiritual practice includes gratitude, prayer, walks in nature, and meditation. And so without further ado, let's all give Carylanne a welcome.
Well, it's nice to know that I'm not looking any older and that I keep getting younger. Thank you for that. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to be here at the fellowship. It's been a while, and it just feels good. It feels really good. So I would love to begin with an affirmative prayer. I really got steeped in affirmative prayer in the last few years, so if you'll just join me for a moment. How grateful I am. Mother, Father, God, Creator, we are so grateful to be here in this beautiful fellowship of inner light. We are together in unison, in oneness, and we know that right where we are, God is. Right where we know, right where we are, we know that life is, and love is, and health is, and vitality is, and we are grateful for this day of living in this great health and vitality. And we know that something wonderful is happening today. Through the song, through the messages, through the inspiration, through the Spirit of God, of the presence within us. And so let us take a moment and feel into that presence within, knowing that we are all inspired, divinely guided, and here by divine appointment. And so, Spirit, have your way today. We are ready, we are willing, we are open, we are able, and we know that this time is blessed and truly blessed. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. So, I've been thinking a lot about the presence and how things have been changing and how we're being called to change and how we're all evolving and how important it is that we are becoming more aware of our intuition. And our intuition is one of our greatest gifts. It is our divine connection. It is the presence of the universe, of that divine intelligence within us. And the more that we get in tune with it, the more we are in tune with all that is. And so I really do believe that we are all born with intuition, and it's up to us to cultivate our intuition. And, you know, being that we're here in Virginia Beach, where the ARE is and Edgar Casey is, and, you know, we're kind of highlighted in this area as a spiritual community. And so the more that we are able to live in that spiritual community, the more that we are tuned in and tapped in to that gift. You know, a lot of people have a lot of different ideas of what intuition is, you know, and I've been practicing and I guess developing my intuition for many years since I went to the Casey Riley School, because they help us to foster our intuition there, and it's become a way of life for me, as I imagine it's become a way of life for many of you. Intuition is a knowing. Intuition is about listening and kind of stepping out of the way of our mind, of our day-to-day, out of what society has told us or who we think that we're meant to be. You know, our intuition is really Source, God, Spirit, speaking to us and through us. And as one of the quotes that Susan shared, it really is our greatest gift. It's our best friend. I mean, God, Spirit, is our best friend. So if we look at intuition as being that, then we are always united with that precious love and precious presence, you know? Everyone pointed out that there was water here, and boy, do I need it. So, the thing about intuition is that intuition takes courage. It takes courage to listen within, doesn't it? It takes courage to trust in this unseen force that's guiding everything all the time. You know, it takes courage, it takes faith. It takes a willingness to be more than who we thought we came here to be. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that. You know, I was reading this quote about courage, and it says, "Courage is a willingness and strength to do things that frighten us, to be brave. It takes courage to trust our intuition." And we all have intuition. We all have intuition. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was going out one night, and that little voice said, "Take a jacket." And I was like, it's been so warm, I'll be okay. And I get out there, and I get out of my car, and the wind is blowing, and I'm like, should have taken my jacket. Should have listened to my intuition, right? And we all get those little nudges. We get those little, you know, is it time for me to get a new job? Is it time for me to get a new car? Is it time for me to possibly change my diet? Is it time for me to drink more water? This is your intuition. This is that inner voice, that spirit within guiding you, right? Have you ever heard, you know, your phone rings and your intuition says to yourself, "That's my sister." And you pick up the phone and it's your sister or your brother or your friend. That's your intuition. That's what intuition is. And it's always there, you know. I love this, this quote by Steven Spielberg, leading filmmaker. He says, "You want to be clear that your intuition is different than your conscious. Your conscious shouts, 'Here's what you should do,' and your intuition whispers, 'Here is what you could do.'" Here is what you could do. So it's like, intuition is like taking a step back before we take a step. It's taking a pause before we respond. It's taking a breath before we act or speak. You know? And so what I find so fascinating is that every single time I listen and trust my intuition, things flow. Magical moments happen. I run into someone that I hadn't seen for a while, or I get this powerful knowing about something that I really needed discernment about. So as someone who lives intuitively and uses her intuition, not only in my work, but in my life, it's really, using your intuition is a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a way of operating in the world, really. We all have this incredible guidance system. And really it is. It's a guidance system. It's an inner compass. And I think that we spend a lot of time figuring out how to use the compass. Instead of saying, okay, God, I put my full faith and trust in you, which I imagine is what we're all really wanting to do on this beautiful planet Earth. And, the more we do it, though, the more beautiful life gets, all the time, all the time. The other thing about intuition is that it gives us a sense that we are more than who we think we are. It gives us that sense that we're here for something possibly greater than what we think. It gives us a sense that this benevolent, amazing, beautiful, magnificent presence that created us truly wants only the best for us all the time. And our intuition is the key to that and those experiences. I believe that. I truly believe that. I believe that at this time, Spirit is saying to us, reach in, listen within, stop looking outside, stop doing this, and start doing this, because everything is within here. And it's funny because, as Bruce mentioned, when I first came here and went to the Casey Riley School, and they were saying everything is within you, I was like, how could everything be within me? Like I really didn't have any concept of what that even meant. And then as the years went on, I started to understand that the presence, God, is within me, and that's everything. That's everything. So all the wisdom I need, all the comfort I need, all the love I need, all the peace I need, that we need, it's within us. It's within us. I listened to Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, the founder of Agape. I just think he's so incredibly brilliant. And he says this affirmation: my life is lived in full participation with the infinite. My life is lived in full participation with the infinite. And so what is that saying, really? What it says to me is when we are living with the infinite, participating with that, we are enveloped in the presence and we follow our intuition. Our intuition is leading us and guiding us, and I love that statement. So what do you do when you don't hear your intuition? What do you do when you're having one of those days or a couple of those days when you just feel really, really uncentered and ungrounded, and you're not really sure how to come back into that place? We meditate, right? And we pray. And I have a recipe, though, that I've been using, and I'll share it with you. It's pause, breathe. Everyone take a breath. Pray. Listen. And proceed. Pause, breathe, pray, listen, and proceed. And I will tell you, it works every single time. So let's do that. Let's do that together, because I like to be interactive. Imagine something that you've been wondering about. Maybe you've been wondering about making a decision or taking a trip or anything really. And just close your eyes for a moment. So we're pausing. Take a deep breath. Breathe. Pray. Listen. Bring whatever that is into your heart. You may even wish to place your hand over your heart. And let that still, small voice within you be still and know that I am. And let that sweet answer from Spirit come to you. And then open up your eyes. And then you proceed. How did that feel? So, last week, really good friend of mine called me to check on how my family was doing, because some of my family lives in Florida. And he said, remember that time when you were driving down to Florida and you completely changed your trip because of your intuition? And I was like, oh my God, that's right. He said, I was thinking about that, and so it got me thinking about that. And so I wanted to share my intuition story with you. And this is probably one of the most precious stories of me following my intuition. So, as I said, my family lives in Fort Myers, Florida, and that's about a 15-hour drive. And at the time, this was maybe 12, 13 years ago, my mom was still here. Bless you. And so I'm driving down, and I had stopped in Georgia to get some peaches, because the peaches in Florida, in Georgia, are like the best peaches in the world. And so I had stopped to get these peaches, and I was feeling really strong, and I was like, I'm just going to drive through. And so I'm driving through, and at about 8 o'clock, I started getting really tired, and I had been driving probably for about 12 hours at the time. But I was like, no, I can do it. And then that voice, that still small voice said, pull over. And I was like, God, I really wanted to get there and see my mom, and she was waiting up, and the still small voice said, pull over, you need to pull over. And I did. I pulled over, and I got off at the next exit, and bless you, and there was a hotel there, and they had a vacancy, and I started to feel Spirit moving in the situation. And I called my mom, and I told her I'd be there the next day. So check into the room, and literally I just nodded out. I was so exhausted. And so I get up the next day, and it was really, really early, and I was praying and meditating, and still small voice says, drive straight to Sanibel. And Sanibel Island is a place where I just had incredible memories growing up. And so I listened and I went. And so I get to Sanibel Island and the sun has already risen and I'm standing on the beach and there's not a lot of people except on the rocks I see a man fishing. And literally my heart was so compelled to walk over, and his clothing sort of resembled the clothing that Jesus would wear. And I see him, and I look down at his feet and even his sandals. And, I was like, God, is this even real? I had just been driving for like 12 hours, and I was thinking, but I knew it was real because he was actually in the flesh. And so I start walking over, and then I start to get like a little nervous, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like what if that really is him? And so I watched him fishing for a while, and the water was this incredible shade of blue and green, and the sun was, lighting up. It was like dancing upon the water, and I closed my eyes just for a few moments, and when I looked back up, he was gone. And I was just so enveloped in the Spirit in that moment. And then I heard peaches. And so I start to walk back to my car, and I see him, and he's cleaning off his fishing rods. And I just got this really strong message to give him a peach. And so I went to my car and I took out 2 peaches and I walked over and I said, "Good morning." And he turned around and his eyes were filled with light. And so I guess for me, in that moment, he was Yeshua. He was Jesus. And I said, good morning, would you like a peach? And he looked at me and he said, I really would, I'm really hungry, I haven't eaten yet. And he smiled at me. And I don't even remember what he said, because I just felt that I was in this incredible presence of this fellow traveler, whoever he was. And he thanked me, and I went to sit down on the beach for a while, and I just kept thinking, thank God I trusted my intuition. Thank God I listened. And so I drove on to see my mom, and I said, Mom, you're never going to guess what happened. And I start relaying the story, and I said, I think I met Jesus today. And she just smiled, and we both were kind of crying a little bit, and she said, that's what happens when you follow your intuition. Miracles happen. And that was probably 13 years ago. I will always remember that day. And from that moment on, I was trusting my intuition all the time, and I do my best to do that all the time. And I teach people in my practice to trust their intuition. And so I don't know who that person was. I know that he was an incredible light for me. And I know that God placed him there and placed me there. And all of that happened because I trusted my intuition. So that's my intuition story. And so if you're ever traveling and Spirit says to you, pull over, you may want to listen. You may want to do that. You know, in the last few years, this saying has become a thing, and it's God has me, Spirit has me, the universe has me. I don't know if you've heard that. It's a thing though. And more I realize that God does have us. Spirit does have us. And the universe does have our back. And all we have to do is allow it. All we have to do is be with that beautiful presence of Spirit within us. That's all we have to do. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not on your own understanding, and always acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. That's intuition. That's us trusting our intuition. So, the gift of intuition is one of the greatest gifts that we have been given. And more, we know that all we have to do is believe. So I hope that, or I trust that, something about you being here has touched your heart today and created a spark, and that your presence and your heart feels full. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me share my story today.